Think about the person you admire. What is it that draws you to them? Is it the way they look? Is it their style, their finesse, the way they treat others? What is it that draws you to them? For me, it has to be their signature sound and how they use it in their ministry of impact in the world. It's the way that they confidently express themselves. It's the way that they're able to foster genuine conversations and connections with the world. More notably, or should I say more audibly, it's the way they use their signature sound to impact the world. Growing up, I was a bubbly, charismatic, charming, cheerful chatterbox, and I quickly found my voice. I was actually my family's impromptu entertainer. You know that child that often gets called on to entertain visitors? That was me. My family knew that anytime we had guests, Mahlodi would be the one to tell them stories that she just made up. I was about 10 years old when I found my sound on the stage. I started writing poems that told of my experiences as a child growing up in the township. My poems received recognition in my primary school to the point where I was selected to represent my school at numerous poetry festivals in our district. I must have been around 12 years old when I met her, the person I admired. We were at a poetry festival in the district, and she just had so much poise. She had a palpable presence, both on and off the stage. Her communication effectiveness, eloquent, 100%. Her signature sound, rich, resonant, regal. How on earth was she able to sound so good? I left that competition and I rushed home to start channeling my inner her. I had to be her. If you asked me on that day who I wanted to be when I grow up, my answer in that moment, I want to be her. So, as I was preparing for an upcoming regional poetry festival, I asked my mother urgently if she could lend me her phone so that I could start recording my poetry sessions, because I'm trying to channel this her. But have you ever experienced that toe curling sensation? I'm talking about that cringy feeling in your stomach when you listen to your own voice note. Be honest. Be honest. We all know that feeling and we're not honest about it. But we don't like the way that we sound. And that feeling is called voice confrontation. It's the cognitive dissonance between how you think you sound, how you want to sound, and how you think you'll be perceived as a result. Now, as I was preparing for this poetry festival, I experienced an unparalleled level of voice confrontation. The voice was just not voicing. If I was a Gen Z TikToker in that day, I would tell you that the sound is not sounding. There was just something off. Just wasn't coming together. I wasn't able to channel my signature rich, resonant, regal sound. It worried me. With 24 hours to go before the big day, the regional poetry festival, I asked my mother if I could prepare my poem in front of her. Her facial expressions started with excitement and hopefulness and turned into concern and recessed into confusion. Mahlodi, what's the matter? What happened to you? You know your poem really well, but it sounds like you're trying to be someone that you're not. And it doesn't sound natural. Just use your sound. We love you for that. Listen, your voice is not just an interaction of air and physiology. Your voice is the symphony between anatomy, your experiences, and your identity. And the interaction of those three forces becomes the orchestra of your life's ministry. As a public speaking trainer, I often get requests from clients who say they want to channel their inner her or their inner him. You know, we all have people that we admire. We want to sound like them. And I will gladly decline those requests because it's not my duty to create a template of similar sounding sounds. My duty is to help you channel your signature sound. So today I want to challenge you to think carefully about what it takes to build that signature sound, that every time you speak, your signature sound comes to the fore. Let's start off with the anatomy. The process of sound starts off in your respiratory system. Air is pushed up from the lungs by your diaphragm into your vocal cords. And when it moves in the vocal cords, they vibrate, changing the air into sound waves. That process is called phonation. And then the sound waves move into your resonating cavities, which is your throat, your oral cavity, and your nasal cavity. And then lastly, the sound becomes distinct, clear speech by the help of your articulators. So every time you speak, it's your palate, which is the upper part, the roof of your mouth, your tongue, your lips, and your teeth that are creating the sound that you hear. Isn't it a marvel? Isn't it a marvel that every time you hum, you laugh, you cry, you speak, you whisper, your signature sound is represented? So with enough voice training and breathing exercises, it won't be difficult to channel your inner her or to sound like that person that you admire. But unfortunately, you can never really sound exactly like them. And that's because of experiences. Now that we've spoken about the anatomy, what role do experiences play in crafting your signature sound? Even two children growing up in the same household can have a different childhood experience. And that's because experience is the sum total of the environment's impact on us. Whether we perceive that impact voluntarily or otherwise, that impact and that experience is enriching us. One particular enriching experience that I enjoy is accents. How our accents enrich our signature sounds. I met a lady that was at odds, at loggerheads with her signature sound because she carried a rich West African accent. She was a proud Yoruba girl from Nigeria. And she lamented this accent because it stopped her from fully coming alive in the boardroom, where she would often have to repeat what she said for people to understand her. And as a result, she wanted to change her signature sound and sound like somebody else. I'm embarrassed because every time I speak, people just cut through me and somebody else can represent an idea that I had as if it were their own, and the room will celebrate them for it. But it was my idea. The reality is, it's not your accent. It's not your command of the English language that determines your capability or your competencies. But your accent allows you to give everyone in the room a glimpse into who you are. Who are your people? Where do you come from? And that accent is needed in every single room. Your accent is the fortress of your signature sound. So now that we've looked at our anatomy, we've looked at experiences, what role does identity play in our signature sounds? I met my husband on a popular dating site in 2020. We listen, we don't judge. Okay? It was COVID-19. Full stop. But as a diehard fan of the American reality TV series Catfish, I suddenly had sympathy for all the millions of catfish victims around the world. I understood why they went through those catfishing experiences. It could have been me. Let me explain. So my husband, or should I say the stranger, and I had barely been talking for a week. It was just a week when we'd been talking, and he asked for my number. I sent him my number over the text on the dating site platform, and instantaneously, he phoned me. All it took was a mere hello. Hey, I was in my gone lover girl era. I was in love. I was. I'm not sure if it was his baritone or his intellect or his humanity or the things he said or how he said them, but it was just the warmth about him. It was the safety in his sound, and that's what sound can do. It can create psychological safety. That's the identity. And it's what big brands have called the brand tone of voice. It's the brand's persona. It's the brand's essence, how it can be expected to respond and behave. So now I ask you, what is the identity of your sound? Is it your warmth and your comfort? Is it your wit and your charm that we just have to be around you? Is it your sternness? Don't leave your identity at the door of those big rooms because it matters. Your identity is the soul of your signature sound. Your identity is the echo in your ministry of impact. The easiest thing to channel is our anatomy because we've been using our voices since the day we were born. But experience comes with time, and identity requires intentionality. Your signature sound needs to come to the party. So then suddenly when you speak, it's not just sound coming from your lungs. When you speak, healing hovers near. When you speak, what was once depression is a cloud that clears away. When you speak, perspectives are born. When you speak, the status quo shifts. When you speak, the world sounds like a better place. Your signature sound is the greatest commodity in our shared humanity. And when we all use our signature sounds together, that orchestra is music to destiny's ears.